Well, hello, DCO Nation, and welcome to another DCO Live. I apologize for being like 1 or 2 minutes late, but Captain Ike and I, we were sitting here just kind of talking. Next thing I know, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. We need to get this show going. So I appreciate everybody jumping on tonight. Looks like we got Steve and Brian, Heath, Tony's on. Everett's on, Russell's on, Gunner's on. Man, we got a ton of guys on tonight. Appreciate you guys jumping in here and not watching the Thursday night NFL game, which I'm not even sure. Ike, who's playing tonight? Do you know?
I have no idea. I'm a college football guy, so
Okay. All right.
yeah,
Cool.
yes, sir.
Cool. So, guys, and my parents are on tonight. My mom and dad. Good to see you guys. So,
There you go.
man, it kind of threw me off. I lost my train of thought here. But guys, I want to welcome Captain Ike Ford. He is with Ike. Why don't you introduce yourself? I don't need to do that.
I'm Mike Ford. I run Grand Chillin for Merle's Inlet Fishing Charters down on the Marsh Walk.
And how long have you been doing that?
I just started this summer. Actually, I guess I had a midlife crisis and got my captain's license. I've been fishing salt water ever since I can remember. And my grandpa used to take me offshore up in North Carolina, and my dad, we always were doing saltwater fishing. And when I got old enough, I started taking my kids. So I kind of have been a fishing guide since they were born. And I decided from listening to podcasts and all, I said maybe I could do that one day. And I decided to take the jump and go to sea school. And here I am.
Yeah, that's all. Well, that's how we all got into fishing,
Oh, yeah.
dads and grandpas. And so, yeah, man, it's that is absolutely awesome. So, with you being in the business now, has it changed for you? Because everybody is always like, well, now that I'm into the business, now it's work. Do you still love it?
Oh, I love it even more now because before I had to actually work and it took away from fishing and I had to plan trips here and there and I didn't get to fish and get on the water as much as I wanted to. And time on the water is everything. So
Yeah.
sometimes I go and couldn't figure things out and I study it all the time, listen to podcasts like this, trying to figure it out. And now I'm out there every day and I just love seeing customers catch fish and put them on fish. And I'd rather you couldn't give me $1 million to give up my captain's license. So
Really, a million?
yeah, a million wouldn't do it. It'd have to have a B on there or something. But I absolutely, if you say you couldn't fish anymore for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
it would be a whole lot of money, man.
Oh, yeah, I know, man. That'd be tough to do. Really tough to do. Yeah, I'd have to take up pickleball or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
for sure.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so how did you get hooked up with Captain Jason?
So I was down here fishing in Georgetown. We that's where I live now. Me and my wife. All our kids are grown, so we decided to make the leap. And I was down here on a vacation because I lived in Aiken, South Carolina. And every year around Masters time, the at Augusta National, I would get out of town because traffic would be terrible. And I used to travel around for work in town, so we took that week off and we found a place down in Georgetown, right on the Sandpit River. And I used to bring my boat and camper down. And I met English Glover down here at the boat ramp during COVID
Hmm.
because all the ramps were closed, and this is a private ramp. And we got to talking, and we became friends. And through English and listening to the old Southern Anglers radio show
Yeah.
podcast, I met Jason, and I've known Jason for quite a few years. And I talked to Jason before I got my license, and I come down to the docks and see him, and he's like, "You just need to go ahead and do it, man." He said, it's a win-win situation. And when he seen I was actually going to sea school and all, he hit me up and he asked me what my plans were afterwards. And I said, well, I guess I'm gonna move to Georgetown and try to run trips out of Georgetown because Murrells Inlet, they have enough guides in there already, enough companies. I said, I guess I'm gonna try to make it work. And he had a position come open, and he said, "Why don't you come run for me?" And I said, "Really?" And I was like, "For sure, I'll do that." So that's history there. So Jason's been great to me and showing me some things, and it's just been awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's
I
absolutely.
appreciate it.
So, okay, so let's jump into it. So, fall time is here. I mean, Saturday, I was looking at the temperatures. Friday night, Saturday morning, I'm seeing like 54 degrees, a high of like 71. I mean, fall is here. So, what kind of changes are you starting to see on the water right now?
Well, definitely the water temps are down. The warmest I've seen the water temps is around 73, but I say between 72 and 74 is what the average has been. And you see that some of the fish like the flounder, they're moving a little bit deeper, not far off. Of course, the redfish are moving in, especially around the jetties. Uh, they're just like kind of bunched up a little bit, not quite running hard yet. And then I haven't really focused on speckled trout yet. I have caught them as bycatch some this,
Mhm.
in the summertime, late summer. But I'm ready for them to move in here soon too. And I think with the water temperature coming down, they're going to be in pretty soon.
Yeah, yeah. Now, have you seen the catch rate starting to go up going into fall and getting, out of those hot temperatures and the water temperatures starting to drop down?
Yeah, so the catch rate's going up. I've been catching a lot of short flounder, and some of the other captains have been catching a slew of 15 to barely 16-inch flounder.
Okay.
So we have had a wave, what I would say would be ocean flounder coming in, maybe coming in to get something to eat and moving on. And I could look at one on the cleaning table and tell they're just so thick.
Yeah.
You can tell they've been following the mullet in and all. So some guys have got lucky and got on some of them bigger flounder. But I tell you, as far as my personal experience, the falling tide's been great. And then that afternoon with that rising tide, it's been a tough bite. You catch a lot of short fish.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think the incoming tide's a tougher bite right now?
I think that it just spreads them out a lot more, especially as high as the water's getting. They're getting spread out a lot. And
Yeah.
I don't know if they're just shutting down, but as soon as it switches, they turn it on. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of bait are you targeting those flounder with right now? I'm sure there's now I haven't been out now in 2 weeks because last week with all the rain, I wasn't out there. And as we talked about, you had to cancel some trips last weekend. So is that mullet run going on right now? Is there a ton of mullet in?
Yeah, there has been a lot of mullet in, but I tell you what I've experienced in the last week, especially like the creek flounder, they have really been liking the smaller bait, even if it's a mud minnow or a smaller mullet. They really, and then I've had the experience, and I've talked to other captains with a larger bait, the fish are they might mouth it, but they never do eat it quick enough. Even if you wait 30 seconds or whatever, it's like they're just spitting it up on you, and you can look at the mullet and tell that a flounder had it.
Right.
So it's been really it's been a weird bite. And then we were transitioning so well, and then we had all that fresh water come in
Mhm.
from the rain. So it's just been real confusing for us and the fish. So hopefully everything stays kind of normal here from here on out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would like to see the patterns and the trends just kind of level off a little bit here for
Right.
the next 2 months, through December.
Oh
So,
yeah.
with you targeting those flounder, you said that you were throwing some mullet. What kind of rig are you throwing that mullet on?
So I do two things. Sometimes I'll take like a quarter ounce jig head
Mhm.
and just nose hook them and work them, especially if I'm in an area with a lot of oyster shells, because clients won't get hung up on it as easy. It kind of protects the hook, it's bouncing. But my normal rig is like a modified Carolina rig, just like a dropper rig, either one.
Okay, can you explain that for people who may not know what a Carolina rig is?
So, like, if I was just fun fishing and I was on my boat fishing for myself, I'd have an egg sinker tied with a bead to a swivel with a fluorocarbon leader. I like to use Kell hooks. I will use
Okay.
circle hooks on, but I just, for some reason, when I fished in South Georgia, the Kell hooks seem like they did better, and especially with live bait. So I use Kell hooks a lot on my boat. But then you just nose hook the mullet or mud minnow. And what I do, and I teach my clients, we just cast it like we set up off a little flat with a drop off, throw it out there. I tell them to slow drag it, reel up your slack, slow drag it. Especially if we're out at the jetties. I could tell when we start getting that bluefish bite. I say, you need to leave it down on the bottom. I said, you're in the wrong water column, you know. And they'd be like, I got another bluefish, or you pull back a mullet head. And I said, you know why, don't you? And they're like, why? I said, you're in the wrong water column. I said, that's all that's there is, bluefish and trash fish. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Matter of fact, Tony Miller is on tonight, and he is down here on vacation. And he sent me a couple of pictures where he caught a shark and some bluefish. And just like you just said, yeah, you're in the wrong part of the water column. So, Tony, get on the bottom, buddy. Get some more weight down there and get yourself a flounder. So,
that's right. Yeah, I thought about upping. I like to use as small of egg sinker as possible for the conditions, to give it a more natural look. But I thought about putting like a 1 ounce or 1.5 ounce on them things, keep them down. Yeah.
Shoot that thing all the way to the bottom and get it away from them.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Yeah. That's crazy. So the redfish are really starting to come in, and this is kind of the time of the year where I'm not going to say they're going to start schooling up yet, but they're pushing into the flats now. How are you targeting redfish right now?
So I like to find a grassy, like on the mid incoming tide there, find a grass line that has like a sharp ledge drop off. So kind of imagine it's just like some of the places we run like Oaks Creek, where it's deeper near the grass. It's because right at the edge of the grass, there's a sharp drop off. It don't have to be like 2 or 3 foot, but it's not like a gradual, like sandy bottom or oyster bottom. And I really like to target those because the redfish, they come up and feed on the little shrimp, and they chase the mullet up in there. And also I like anywhere over oysters. So tomorrow morning will be my first morning really using shrimp. I'm gonna be floating some shrimp in there.
Oh, okay.
Try to stay away from the pinfish if possible. So
yeah. So what made you decide to switch over to shrimp now?
I had a good Capt friend that did it this morning, and he said because we don't want to, of course, but you just don't want to tear up a bunch of shrimp for pinfish,
Right.
And he said he got some nice slot reds, and I'm a big fan of redfish. I've only filleted a couple redfish in my life. Everyone I've ever caught, I let go, and that's just me personally. But of course, if a client wants one, I'll do it. But I try to tell them, these are redfish, these are special fish. I said, look how beautiful they are. The spots are different, And I don't know why, I have a connection with them for some reason. I guess for all them years I was chasing them, and I finally started catching them. I figured I'll take care of them, So yeah, I've cleaned some, but most of the fish I catch, I love catching the overslots, but not bulls. But anywhere from 25 to 30.
Yeah.
I love catching them and get them in quick and release them quick. I'll catch any of them, of course, but that's just my thing. I love the redfish. And what was the first question again? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
but the redfish really seem to love the mullet because they're chasing them. I think they're chasing them all the way in. And if you use common sense, so like the flounder, they go offshore to spawn.
Right.
Redfish come inshore to spawn. Trout come inshore to spawn. So you just got to figure that out. And so soon, I guess we have winter flounder. I don't know the difference by looking at them, really. I mean, you can kind of tell. But I guess we have some residential flounder that stay around all the time. But them redfish are coming in to spawn. And, of course, they're going to come up on the flats and chase the mullet. So that's the easiest way. And the trout, the easiest way to target them.
Yeah. And like you were saying a little bit earlier, there's flounder, I think, are starting to kind of transition offshore, those bigger females now.
Oh, yeah.
And, really, what is it? November-ish is when really they're offshore doing their thing. They're spawning. Is that's November, right?
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Okay.
It's late October, November.
Yeah. And it's really dictated by those water temperatures, starting to fall. But
that's right.
Cool. So right now with your clients, are they wanting to target more flounder, redfish, or do they not really care when they're going out? Do they say, "Hey, Captain Ike, man, I want to get on a redfish bite," or are they that specific with you, or is it just let's have some fun?
Well, a lot of them now this time of year it gets a little bit different. During the summer, they're just wanting to do something different. They're on vacation. They want to get out and have a good time, and that's what we do on my boat. We have a good time and catch fish. I'm a non-judgmental captain. You can bring the kids on the boat as long as nobody gets hurt. We're good. But I had my heart broke Wednesday afternoon. I was all stoked up to catch redfish, and a client that I made, and he actually went out Thursday with another captain because I was booked, but he was wanting to come again. He got on the boat, and I said, "Well, I have some mullet mud minnows, for live bait." And I had a couple 5,000 series reels on some bigger rods on the boat, with all my other stuff, my 3,000s. And I said, we could go out to the jetties, and target some redfish. And he said, I don't really care about redfish. My heart was broken because I know they were there.
It hurts a little bit.
Yeah. And I said, yes, sir. I said, well, what do you want to target? And he said, flounder. And I said, okay. He said, me and my dad used to go flounder fishing up north. And that's what they did. And he hadn't been fishing in years. And so I took him and we got him some flounder. Like I said, a lot of them were just undersized, but he didn't care. He wasn't going to take anything home anyway. He was there for a good time. And so I put him on some flounder and he had a great time. But and then I get some people, they just don't care. They just want to have fun. And then I had a family last week. We got out there at the jetties and the wind was blowing a little bit, but I found us a spot we could fish. And they started catching bluefish. And me being a captain, I'm like, crap,
Yeah.
But they had a ball. And they were like, no, I said, we could go in the creeks if you want to get away from these bluefish. And they were like, no, this is like fun,
Yeah.
And so we actually at least 20 to 25 in the boat, plus, probably 20 cut rigs, or bit baits. So the bluefish were in thick. So we
So
had
it
a
was
good
just,
time.
one after another. They were catching fish. They were having a ball.
Yeah, the time went by so quick. I was like, daggone, we stayed out there the whole time,
Yeah.
But,
Man, I hate those things. They stink. Oh, man. And when you get it on your hand, you can't get it off.
oh, yeah. Yeah, I smell my shirts when I get home, and I'm like, oh, Lord. Yeah.
So got our first question here. So Tony Miller, he's the gentleman who is down on vacation. He said, how long of a leader do you use on your Carolina rig? I use about 12 inches.
So I start my fluorocarbon leader. I start the whole thing at about 36 inches because I could break it off a few times or get bit off a few times by bluefish. But the actual from the lid to the hook is about 12 inches or less for me. If it gets all the way down, I'll use the leader and retie, and we do like a loop knot on the end. It's kind of a simple Carolina rig. You do a few overhand knots with the hook and pull it through, and that's what holds the sinker up. So we're targeting the bottom. So as long as it's a little bit over 6 inches, we're good. But I think the longer leader, it gives the mullet a little bit more action. It's better, and you're hopping it. You're hopping across the bottom. So 12 inches to 18 inches is probably perfect.
Okay, great. And are you using the same Carolina rig for your redfish also?
Yeah, I usually do, and I'll even go with a little bit shorter, like 8-inch leader on them. Keep it down. Even like when I target them at the jetties, I've even used. I love cut bait, but I've also used if I have finger mullet that's died, in the live well. I've experimented with just nose hooking them like I would if they were alive, and all the current and everything going on down there. I think them things just sit there and spin, and I've caught them like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they really matter much what you throw down in front. I mean, they're bottom feeders. I mean, that's
Right.
they're just vacuuming up, stuff off the bottom. So
Oh yeah. And I love catching people their first redfish. It's pretty awesome.
have you tell us a story about somebody who's caught their first red and it was like, a huge redfish, like a 30 or a 25 or a 28, and they really didn't know what they were getting into, because those things, man, they can play out for a little while. Do you have any stories like that?
Oh yeah, I got a couple, but I'll choose this one. Excuse me. I had a family of 5. It was dad, mom, 3 kids. And we were fishing back in the creek, start out with, because the tides were right and all. But when I get a slack tide and I see the fish aren't biting in the creeks, if I could get to the jetties, I'll get to the jetties, And so it was nice, and we were able to slide to the outside of the North Jetty. And I got a couple of favorite spots that you can, where the rocks look good, and you got different kind of sandy bottoms there, different depths. And I sit at this one spot, and the kids, like I said, they were just moving too fast. They caught like every species you could think of. We even got like a sea bass, ribbon fish, everything, toadfish, everything. So the mom had never caught a saltwater fish in her life. She was just along for the ride. And like I cater to ladies because like the dad's fishing and he's got the kids. I'm trying to keep everybody happy. And so she was at the back of the boat with me, and I was casting down the rocks, and I had her mullet on, and I was like, listen, just leave it right there. I said, there's no reason to even work it. I said, this, she was just hanging out. So Rodney, the rod holder, hooked her up on that one was 28.5-inch redfish. That was her first fish. And so she fought it, and she tried to hand me the rod like 2 or 3 times, and I keep the drag semi-light because I don't, people hossing it.
Yeah.
And so once they start fighting it, I coach them, like, reel down, pull up, because I've had a lot of people, they're just spinning the tires, just, drag, I said, listen, when you hear that, you're not retrieving line. So I reached up, I said, stop reeling. I'll do a couple clicks, and we'll work from there. And so she said, she asked her husband, you want to take it? And he's like, no, you're going to catch that fish. And I knew it was a redfish, and because he come up and he kind of rolled, I said, oh yeah. So I have the net and I'm coaching her. The kids are going crazy, and I netted that thing, got it in the boat, and she's holding it up, and after I measured it, it was 28.5 inches. It was probably 29 with a tail pinch,
Yeah.
And but I was trying to hold him still where he wouldn't flop around and hit the bottom of the boat. And she was like, that was crazy. And she's like, what is that? And I said, that's a red drum, ma'am. And she was like, that's the first saltwater fish I've ever caught. And because she wasn't fishing all morning, really, she was just watching the kids fish.
Right. Yeah.
And so I said, awesome. So I revived it, let it go. And she sat down. She was whooped. And I told her, I said, I put a dead mullet on there and threw it back down that same area. And I said, listen, just watch this rod for me, while I was taking care of everybody else. About a minute later, boom, went off. So it was a 25-inch redfish. But
she caught that one too?
Yeah, but she got that one in so quick. She was a professional. She knew what to do. I didn't have to say anything. I stood there with the net, and she was like, she got that thing in so quick. I said, there you go. And it was 25 inches, and we let that go. And of course, they took pictures and all. Yeah. And her husband, he goes down to Florida fishing a lot, and they catch a lot of redfish, down there. And he was just working everything too fast, And, you tell him 2 or 3 times, but you're not going to fuss at him.
Right.
And say, hey, listen, you need to slow it down a little bit. And a lot of times if they're going too fast, I'll say, can I cast for you one time? And I'll throw it out there and I'll reel and I'll work it I say, I just want to make sure I don't have you on the rocks. And most of the time you'll get whacked and you just hand it to them,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably the best story. And one other one, I had a mom from Iowa. She had her kids here during the summer for the baseball tournament.
Yeah.
And she caught a 24-inch redfish. And she didn't even know what it was. I said, have you ever caught a redfish before? And she was like, no. She said, is that good? I said, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they were probably thinking, yeah, there's nothing to this fishing thing. Yeah, man, you just throw it out and just let it go and you reel them in.
Yeah, that's easy peasy, right?
Yeah. So, guys, if you have any questions for Captain Ike, throw them up in there. We got about, give or take 5 minutes. Get your questions up here. Let's put Captain Ike through the mill. Let's test his knowledge here a little bit. But with us only having about 5 minutes left, going out this weekend, what should guys be doing? Just kind of give us, a couple of little tips for us heading out.
If I was you, I would definitely, if you can, I would use either artificial shrimp, work them grass lines. I think it's just the beginning of that. That's what's going to be the trend. I'm going to be floating live shrimp under a cork, on adjustable cork, and I'm going to be working that. So my Friday morning and Saturday morning trips, that's going to be a falling tide, and the majors are going to be right there, right where they need to be. About, I think it's 8 to 10 or somewhere around there. So I think the major feeding time is going to be there. I would just get back there, any choke points you can find off the base of oyster beds. I would just work them areas really hard. Any grass lines that that drop off kind of steep, I'd work all that. And if you want to catch flounder, I would try working more towards the middle of the channels. That's what I've seen lately.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, that's awesome tips. Awesome. Well, that's guys, it flies by. That I know I say it like every week, but man, I tell you what, you just start talking and a half hour's gone. So Captain Ike, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, maybe follow you on your social media account, how they can book you for a trip. Let everybody know all your information.
Okay, so my social media is all on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's all Salty Souls Fishing with a Z on the souls, and that's like my company name. That's me and my wife are partners in that. Even though I work for Merle's Inlet Fishing Charters, and I plan to until Jason runs me off. I love it. But if you want to book me, just call 843-798-9100. That's Merle's Inlet Fishing Charters. Request Ike on Grand Chillin, and they'll know who you're talking about, or come see me down at the Marsh Walk and talk to me. I'm a blabbermouth, so I'll talk to you all afternoon.
No, that's awesome. Guys, book them up on a trip and go catch some fish. Captain Ike, I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know you got to take time away from your family to jump on here. And so,
one more thing, and if you want to hear me yap some more, I'll be on Trilogy Outdoors radio show every Saturday, 8 to 10. So you could catch us on there. Yeah, I'm part of the radio show. So.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. Yeah, because usually I'm jumping on and off listening to the radio show. So.
Yeah, they're going to call me. I'm going to be on the water Saturday morning, so they're going to call and patch me in, so I could tell you what's going on live from the water Saturday morning.
Man. Okay, guys, there you go. That's on the Gator. Yeah, it's on the Gator. Yep.
107.9. Yes,
sir. Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, hit them up. Listen to the radio show and, support these guys. They work hard, and they will put you on fish. Captain Ike, again, I really appreciate you. Stick around. I'm going to talk to you after the show. But, guys, how I always end it. I think. Oh, conservation starts with you. Release a fish for someone else to enjoy. Man, I almost forgot my own tagline. So, guys, I really appreciate you, and I will see y'all next week.